And we're back. This is Elliot and Jose coming to you from Dreamland Comics on the Comic Culture Warrior video channel. Okay, let's jump back into the world of the DCU with an interesting look at Brave and the Bold, number 27, the first issue, written by the esteemed J. Michael Straczynski, with art by Jesus Saez, who we remember from Checkmate. We just talked about him in the last series of segments when we were talking about the Checkmate trade paperback. So J. Michael Straczynski, Joe Mike, is finally in the DCU. He's writing Brave and the Bold. Just as an aside, many of you, I had made the proclamation that J. Michael Straczynski would be writing Superman, and no, there has been no project announced yet.
Well, I'm sure Superman might show up in here.
I'm sure he will. In fact, I'm pretty sure he will. But J. Michael Straczynski has himself alluded to wanting to write Superman, and has said he has a project in the works right now that he won't say what it is, but many folks are pretty much believing it is a Superman project. So that's why I've been making those pronouncements. But anyway, back to this. We have the Batman, and I remember when I picked this up, I was going, "Is this the? Are we still with the Bruce Wayne Batman, or have we? Well,
these stories take place throughout continuity,
right?
So they're not like taking place currently,
right? This, though, to me, felt like the Dick Grayson Batman, because while he was a bit heavy-handed, he wasn't as heavy-handed as the Bruce Wayne Batman would have been. What happens? It's Batman and Dial H for Hero, which Dial H for Hero, I remember the very first Dial H for Hero books that stories that were told in Adventure Comics way back in the day, and this was back when you could create a superhero, send it into DC Comics, and if the editors of DC Comics liked it enough, they would use it in a Dial H for Hero story. So that's where the whole idea for Dial H for Hero came from. The kid who's holding the Dial H for Hero dial, I always forget his name, Robbie, he and his grandfather, I think it is, are in Gotham City. You know, that's not a hard pill to swallow. Just as the Joker is planning a big, not a heist, but he's got this big plan in place where he's finally decided he wants to kill the Batman. Which, if you read this page here, the Joker says, yeah, you've heard me say it before, and you've also heard me say that I can't kill him, but this time it's for real. But you get the setup, and really the whole story isn't so much about Batman versus the Joker as what happens to someone else who gets the Dial H for Hero dial, and the experiences they have becoming one of the heroes that this mystic, artifact gives them.
It's a guy who's pretty much laid off from his job, doesn't have any money, doesn't know what he's going to do.
I like how they make they do the whole thing about part-time and not having insurance.
Well, yeah, that was a pretty big thing that they actually,
And then he's kind of a guy who's down in his luck. And what does he say? He's like, you know what? I've got no choice. He's got to revert to crime. So through a very clever plot twist, this guy ends up with the Dial H for Hero dial and experiences what it's like to be a hero, and experiences what it's like to have people not expecting the worst of you, but expecting the best of you, that appreciate you, and this is a whole new experience for this guy. And it's really, as all this is occurring, it has a real bittersweet feel to it, because the whole time I'm reading this, I'm like, I know something's going to happen to this guy, and you really want to like him, you really want to root for him.
Yeah, you see him being the hero and actually starting he's conflicted about, is this something that I want to do? And then he actually does it, and he feels good helping people. For the first time in his life, he feels that he has some worth.
Exactly. And then when this guy, a former crook, now turned hero, encounters the Batman for the first time, he's like, if I had encountered this guy before, he would be down on me. But wait a minute, I was actually doing something good. I shouldn't be scared.
And in playing on that, I like the fact that Straczynski's going from the thoughts in his head to what he's saying to Batman, and he keeps lying to Batman right off the bat.
Right.
But he's like, why am I lying to Batman? That's not who he sees me as right now.
Right.
And plus, he's a walking lie detector. He's gonna know if I'm lying to him.
Yep.
He's like, and the more that he says, it's just more lies, and you just can't stop lying to
Right.
Batman because that's what he's used to doing.
Right. Which made me think that's why this isn't the Bruce Wayne Batman. Because the Bruce Wayne Batman would have been all over this guy. I don't trust. Yeah, you're up to something. You're hiding something. You're this.
But the reason.
But then the Dick Grayson. Don't get me wrong. The Dick Grayson Batman isn't just taking this guy for what it's worth too. Because as we find later on, he's like, okay, we're gonna, he does a little investigating on his own of who he is. But I really feel, and I would love to ask J. Michael Straczynski this, if he intended this to be Bruce or Dick, because it just felt to me like Dick is doing the persona, but also tempering it a little bit with who he is. So that's the way I read it. Maybe other folks might read it differently, but I really enjoyed the characterization of Batman here, just for that very reason. And then the story progresses. Really, when you think about it, it's not so much a team-up between Batman and this character who's called the Star. But they're running along parallel tracks. And there's this cool... I like this scene here. It's the homage to the Flash cover, where the Flash, speeding in front of somebody and catching the bullets. Just a great little story. Just moves along. While the Star is going about Gotham doing these things, Robbie, who no longer has the dial, sees this happening. And, there's this panel here where Robbie's watching television, and he's got this look on his face, and I'll give Jesus Saez this. The look, it's like you can't tell if Robbie is feeling sad that he lost the dial, that it's been stolen, or
he feels relieved
that he feels relieved, or he feels remorse. Like, I did something here that maybe I shouldn't have done. So overall, this was a really well executed story. I don't want to give away the ending because this is, it's a really good. The ending you kind of saw coming, but it's still a satisfying ending. And again. J. Michael Straczynski didn't seem to have any problem jumping into the DCU and writing these characters.
That's what I liked about this issue is that it's very simple on the surface, and it was just him telling a story with Batman in it, and then this other character that the Dial H for Hero Star character, but he lets you get into their heads and know what they're about. It's just a one and done issue, but when you see what happens to the Star character, you kind of feel for it because Straczynski did such a good job of letting you know who this person was about, and the thought process about him changing from being a petty thief
and a nobody
to being somebody, and
then not only that, but then when you get to the very last part where Batman encounters Robbie, who he knows who Robbie is, and Robbie has to deal with the consequences of what he did and what happened to the Star character. And and this is also another thing that makes me think this is Dick Grayson speaking. That Dick Grayson has experienced loss. He knows what it's like to try to live a life that's worthwhile, and he just has a particular perspective. Whereas I'm not saying that the Bruce Wayne Batman would have lacked compassion. I don't know if he would have been able to say these particular words to Robbie.
Unless this could have been an earlier Batman.
It could have been. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's what I was thinking, because it is out of continuity. And I was reading it, and I was thinking it was Bruce Wayne, but I thought that it was like Batman circle like year 1 or year 2.
That's a really good point. I never thought of it that way. You're right. So again, this book really works on a whole lot of levels, and I hope that that when you see this book, Dial H for Hero. Wow. This is Brave and the Bold. Now I think with J. Michael Straczynski giving this some really solid characterizations. I'm really looking forward to see what happens next. And it's really clever the way the story is set up and how it goes on.
And this is I haven't read Brave and the Bold since like issue 3 or 4 because I just kind of dropped it. But I like the fact that this is just a comic and it's a one and done. And I hope that's how the first few stories are. That Straczynski, right? Because I will be buying this if it's just one and done, so I don't have to follow this huge story. I just thought it was a really great read, and if you just want a comic next week that you might have a little bit of extra money and you just want to have something and just buy one issue, buy this.
And you know what?
Totally worth it.
It's a really good book. It tells a solid story. It's got great artwork. It's got Batman. It doesn't have graphic violence. It doesn't have, anybody can read this book and enjoy it. And why do some writers feel they need to pander by doing a lot of graphic, over-the-top, needless bullshit? This proves here you don't need that to write a good comic book. Pure and simple.
This is easily this is like superheroes the way that I remember it when I was reading. I wish there was more books like this.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
And Agents of Atlas.
That ending made me think of Iron Giant. That's what the ending made me think of. Was really also one of my favorite movies. All right, so we'll end that note on that. When we come back, we'll have some conversation on other things. I don't know. We'll see. See you then.